This is pod 4. Are you gonna kick us off there, Keenan?
Can I, before we do like the first full introduction, can I start by exposing someone first before we start? We were, deciding on the times and everything with regards to the pod. And I obviously said to Nathan, like, yo, man, it's the Arsenal game. Like, we can't obviously record for too long, or we can't start recording too late because we're going to go into the Arsenal game. And he said to me, to my surprise, fuck that Arsenal game. Like, I don't care about it. Like, I'm here about the pod and nothing else at all. Like, I was shocked.
He's a fame monger.
I said,
Hungry for fame.
damn, that is personal.
And I was so shocked. I'm telling my story. Can I tell my story to you?
I said the pod is more important.
So I said, Nathan, but you've been a lifelong Arsenal supporter. You can't just not care about the game.
Guilt tripping.
And
We should add this to our conversation. Like, where does your football club actually come in your life? You know, like, is it first? Is it second? Is it third?
it seems like the team he supports all his life is very far down on his priority list at the moment.
Kicked it
But
to the
who am I to judge? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it
Like,
should be
that's-
football club or God's football wife.
You're hectic. Anyway, welcome to the guys next door. This is our fourth pod, and we have a special guest. Special guest alert.
All the way from UK.
What's up, Brad? How you doing, man?
All good, all good. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, because you're not famous.
Am I introducing myself? You're not going to introduce me as my baby brother?
Yeah, that can't early.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we got the big bad Brad joining us today from is it London, UK, or is it Surrey, UK?
I mean, Surrey, sort of London. You can say London.
London.
Are you from, like, if we put it in terms of the Western Cape, are you from Paarl or are you from Cape Town in London?
Yo. So, London would be Cape Town, CBD, right?
Yeah.
Paul would be like, Paul is like on the outskirts of Cape Town, yeah?
Yeah.
So
Paarl,
You're on the outskirts and you're not London.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be between Paul and Cape Town. So, maybe like,
northern suburbs.
yeah, yeah, give or take, like in the middle.
Okay. I wanna start off. So I'm gonna go right into it.
Let's go.
So I came across a video the other day, and it was I think it was on TikTok, and it was about this group of friends that went out to a restaurant, and I think based on what I saw, certain members of the group earn more money than other members of the group, and now they've all gone to a restaurant. And basically, I'm going to put it to you guys. I want to know what's your opinion on this, and that is splitting of the bill. So now, a lot of friends, when they go out together, they like to split the bill. But now, is it fair if we all go to the restaurant and you order lobster and I order chicken wings, and you order champagne and I order Coca-Cola? Now you want to split the bill. So in the video that I saw, there was a huge argument because some people had ordered expensive stuff and some people had ordered the cheaper stuff, and they had literally had a verbal altercation out loud in front of everybody as to who needs to pay this bill. Yeah. So now, what are your thoughts? Let's start with Luke Stevens. Do you think that you should split the bill as friends? How do you feel about that situation?
No, I think pretty much how I've dealt with it is everyone pays for their own orders, and then you just add the 10% to that. I think it avoids all the drama from splitting the bill if one orders something more expensive or more food or drinks. So for me, it's
so simple interest. You pay your own bill. You, Brad? First of all, How's the vibe there in England? Do people always split the bill there? Do everybody pay their own bill? Is it different to South Africa in any way?
I mean, it depends which group of friends I'm with, and also depends on which country I'm in. Like if I'm in the UK, and I'm with my usual friends I'm with, like we would split the bill, 5 ways, 4 ways, whatever. But if but it also depends which friends really. Like that's the close friends. If it's not close friends, I'm paying for my shit. You pay for your shit. Because the way I shop, sometimes I shop for like a discount, or I'll shop like I want to taste everything, but I have a budget that I'm working with. Like
Yeah.
it's a bit different. Like when we were in Sweden, and you don't have an option to like split it, like I pay, you pay. In Sweden, they want one person to pay up front, and then you would split it on an app. That's so when we got there, first we had money in our pockets. We want to pay cash. They don't deal in cash. So I mean, it depends. But I mean, if I had a choice, I want to pay for what I ate. But I mean, if it's close friends, I don't mind going 4 or 5, whatever ways.
Okay, Keenan?
I agree with that, Brad, because it really depends. With my close friends, I think you're quite open with each other. You would say, listen, I'm in a tight spot this month. Especially if you're inviting people out. I think that also plays into it. So if I'm inviting you out and you say to me, listen, I'm in a tight spot, can't really make it, but I want you to be there, and I say I'll cover the bill, and obviously, I'll cover part of the bill.
Yeah, but that's different.
That is very different, but you can also tell from your close friends. You can tell from your close friends, like who can pay for the entire bill, who can't, like who's just going to contribute a little. But in terms of strangers, 100%, we're not splitting that thing 5 ways because, listen, some people go crazy. And you have to, it doesn't make sense. Like you said, it doesn't make sense if I order a bottle of champagne, a bottle of vodka, a bottle of brandy, and Luke orders a water, and then we have to split it 5 ways.
Lemon.
So on that vodka thing,
I would
Right.
have to say, even if it is close friends. Now, let's say we go to, because you have a habit of getting raucous in the club. Let's from time to time, every time.
100%.
So now, let's say we go out and you are feeling for that bottle, and I'm only feeling like a hunter's.
Yeah.
And then, but now we close. I want you to pay for that bottle if I never drank it.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, but that's even though we close though.
Yeah, but you must have the conversation beforehand. You must have the conversation, and you can't force someone to do something that they don't want to. So you've said to me before, like,
We're not buying bottles tonight.
I'm not buying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel also on that. Okay, Luke isn't a big drinker
At all.
No.
But Brad,
Not
what's
any-
your
not
take on
anymore.
bottle service compared to just buying like at the bar?
how do you mean? Like, do I buy bottles? In general, if I go to a club, I'm not a bottle man. I have my drinks on the side. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my take on it. But what's your take on shots? Like, let's say we a group of brassen, I order shots for the table. Everyone partakes, but not everyone had a say, in whether we buying the shots or not. Who foots that ball? Who pays for that? We split it.
I think it's the guy that ordered it. Yeah.
If you didn't say anything to anyone and you just come with a whole lot of shots, like, sorry, you mustn't use executive decisions.
You make executive decisions with my bank account.
But you always get that one bastard who will do it, and then at the end of the night,
You better be pointing or to a ghost or someone.
I brought this topic up because he is notorious. I literally have to make disclaimers at the start of nights off and saying like, okay, what's the plan for tonight? And he says you should say in advance, but he doesn't say in advance. Once he has it win, and then he gets
Too late.
excited. Yeah, then it's too late. Then we're all on this train.
But did you die? Did you have the time of your life though? No, okay. I see we're using the pod to send subliminals here, but okay. The guys next door, we are having what do you call it?
Intervention.
No, a couples counseling session, also group counseling.
That is a lovely segue.
Okay, there we go. What you got first?
Okay, you said couples counseling. I wanted to talk about healthy conflict. But healthy conflict in every sense of the word, not just in romantic relationships, but also in friendships and the importance thereof. And I want to throw this at Brad, and I want to ask you, what is your idea? What does healthy conflict look like in a relationship setting with your partner?
Jeez, dropping the bomb. I mean, I think the first step to a healthy conflict is obviously understanding yourself. There needs to be a bit of self-work and self-awareness, and then also there needs to be an awareness from your partner's side or you need to understand that you're not perfect. You have your flaws and your issues, and your partner has also. And why I bring that up is because in any form of conflict, as the word suggests, there's going to be, you said this, how can you even think that? But what's important is not to take things at face value at that point. Sometimes healthy conflict is walking away and saying, okay, we've had this conversation. I didn't necessarily agree with everything you said. You don't even have to say that, but taking a step back and saying, okay, let me think about this, give it a few days, sleep on it, and then come with a response or a way forward. So yeah, high level, that's my thoughts. What's your thoughts?
I mean, in terms of healthy conflict, no one knows you better than your partner because, first off, like you are obviously very honest with them. You spend most of your time with them. So they're always going to know your buttons, the buttons that you can press, that they can press. So for me, it's just about also having that self-introspection and understanding to not press those buttons just to hurt the other person or to get your point across. What's also important for me is that you need to have conflict. There's some friends or some people that I've seen that, they're a friendship group and they've never had conflict with each other.
They avoid it. They actually
they avoid it. And I'm like, how do you really get to know each other? How do you really get to have that open honesty with each other? And that's sometimes through conflict. I mean, I'm sure you and Brad can talk to like having some real conflict as brothers, but when it comes down to it, the two of you would probably die for each other.
I've had conflict with Brad, I've had conflict with Luke, I've had conflict with you, I've had conflict with all of my closest friends actually. And you touched on it there. And to be honest, I think you need some level of conflict in order to have growth. Like there's I would venture and take a guess and say that those groups of friends that have never experienced conflict, there's more chance of once that conflict does arise, because they're all tiptoeing around each other, there's more chance of them not being friends after the conflict.
Yeah.
Because they don't know and haven't built the skills to work through it. And it's because maybe one's too afraid to say what's on their mind.
They haven't been there before.
Yeah.
Like with me and you, if we have a disagreement, we've been there before where we've had a disagreement. We've taken some time, like Brad says. And then you talk about it and you realize, listen, we can't just throw this away because there's a lot of effort put into this. Another example I want to use is like, let me use an extreme example, the UFC. When those guys pre-fight, like the Conor McGregor's, trash talk, all of those
So you
stuff
hold up, yeah.
with Nate Diaz, it is the most disrespectful stuff ever. But as soon as those guys come to battle in the octagon, they have so much respect for each other after the fight. And it's because like, I've gotten to feel you out in your most rawest sense ever. And you can take a punch, you can give it, but after the fight, respect.
I actually have one more thing to add there. I said that I've had conflict with Brad, with Luke, with you, and I would actually say that for me, I only have conflict with the people I feel are worth the conflict. So if I have a disagreement with Brad or with Luke and you guys and the relationship is worth me telling you that, okay, you said something that maybe made me feel a certain type of way, or this is how I'm feeling, or these were my expectations and they weren't met, blah, whatever the case may be. Whereas if you were just a good time friend, someone that I see that I don't really care about too much, and you wrong me, you're not worth the conflict. So I'm not even going to take the time that I need to engage and tell you, like, yo, Keenan, you hurt my feelings. Yo, Luke, you overstepped the boundary there, but because now I can just cut you at the knees.
Yeah.
So I actually think that that's also where healthy conflict comes from me. Like, I've honestly had conflict with everybody that I care about. It's almost like it's impossible for me to have a healthy relationship with someone if we haven't at some point butted heads.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, on what Giant said on the buttons, I mean, just bringing it back to relationships as well. Like, often the people you surround yourself with, there's a familiarity with them, and that familiarity isn't necessarily because you know them for a year or 2 years. Most people, and I'm going a bit deeper into psychology because I've seen a psychologist. And most people you surround yourself with is people who somehow remind you some of your past. Maybe years 1 to 7, often your formative years where you're developing and so on. And that's why people close to you hit ping buttons and they know your spots, but that's your subconscious signaling to you there's an opportunity for growth here.
Yeah.
But on that, and this is maybe, I don't know, moving away from the topic, but I don't think schools equip us as adults, as young people, and the kids coming through the system. I don't think schools equip us to deal with conflict. And I think it's an important life skill. And I think that's why, like you guys are talking about, like friends often, okay, we talk to each other and we have a disagreement, but then you walk away from it and you don't confront it. But it's because we don't necessarily have role models in our lives, to teach us better. What do you think, Luke?
I just want to visit the healthy conflict again. I believe that, like we've mentioned here, that it's good for growth. However, I think conflict within yourself is also real. It could just be something that I deal with personally. How can I say? Sometimes one is hesitant to bring it up because you build up this expectation and worst case scenario in your mind. And then you sort of battling with yourself without actually taking the action to solve the problem. So you keep it all, you try to figure it out within yourself when all you need to do is just address it in a digestible manner to whoever.
Could you give us an example? Like, for example, a promotion or something?
So not necessarily career driven, but okay, let's use the example in the sense of a promotion. So you don't have clarity on what you need to do to get that promotion. And you sort of, instead of having the conversation asking where you can improve, you tell yourself, you limit yourself. So you say, no, there's no ways they would promote me because of this, or the person who's got this position has these privileges. So you kind of knock yourself down and then you just stay sort of within your comfort zone, because it's uncomfortable now to go from internal conflict to now put it into action and be like, let's find solutions to whatever my problem is.
Do you feel like you have conflict avoidance?
yeah, I think if that summarizes my point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
What's
It's
really interesting with that is I've heard more than once in the corporate sphere that the people that actually voice their being disgruntled or just not really, vibing with whatever decisions are being made,
The ones who speak their mind.
who speak their mind,
Mm.
those are the people that actually get ahead.
Is it?
And yeah.
Because obviously I'm not in a
Yeah.
corporate setting, so I actually thought that if someone speaks their mind in a corporate setting, it could be a bad thing.
It can if you do it in the wrong way.
Mm.
But if you do it in the right way and you stick to facts. So if you stick to the facts of I've been at training every single week, I've worked my way up through the ranks.
These are my targets. I hit them.
Yeah.
I've scored tries, I've done whatever the case may be. I'm just talking about, let's say you're a rugby player and you bring your stats as to why you should be starting for the first team.
Okay, I get you.
No one can dispute that. But if you're just going to keep quiet and accept things, like people, there's a saying like, no one's going to give you what you don't ask for.
It's a very interesting point that Brad said earlier when he said he feels like the schooling system to a certain extent lets down the youth coming through
That was very
and as adults, because that actually brings me to my next question, and that is the importance of therapy. And I wanted to go around the room first of all, who has been to therapy? And obviously there's different forms of therapy. It's couples counseling, if maybe you're getting married. There's obviously personal therapy that you could either go to get over a breakup, or maybe you're struggling mentally, or whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to go around the room. Anybody can start first. Brad, you've probably been to a therapist more than all of us. And no,
Jesus. Let the people know I'm I didn't know how to feel about that.
I want to bring this up, and I say this is because I do feel like therapy has a certain stigma attached to it, and especially for men. And with older generations, they feel like you have to have mental issues in order to go to therapy. Whereas I feel like if you go to the gym, you don't only go to the gym when you're overweight. You go to the gym when you're trying to lose weight, when you're fit. You go to the gym to stay fit. Now, I think therapy should be treated the same way. You go to a therapist to stay mentally fit on top of things, get to know yourself, etc., etc. But yeah, so Brad, as the most therapized one, what is your opinions on the importance of therapy, and also who should be going to therapy?
I mean, I think everyone should be going. When I was younger, I was like, nothing's wrong with me. Why should I go to a therapist? I'm perfect. You know, but you know what I mean?
You're laughing because you see the same thing to yourself.
That typical guy thing. I'm supposed to open my soul to you fools, and you're laughing at it.
It's a safe space. It's a safe space.
But I mean, I don't know how much I'm supposed to share, but
Share.
So-
I can cut that if you say something inappropriate.
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share. So, my wife, my current wife, we went out for.
Wow, you say current wife. Yes.
Ooh.
You know,
I mean, we haven't even spoken about past lives yet. I'm just saying. So, my current wife. I'm joking, but so my wife, Kiana.
he got the
I mean, we went out for a very, very long time, and yeah, we kept on making up, breaking up, and lots of issues. And I kept on blaming her for everything. And we broke up. I think maybe I can't even remember. Maybe 7 years ago, and I was like, nah, I'm done. But then I thought, you know what? I've been going out with this girl for like over 10 years. I don't want to make the same mistakes in my next relationship. I want to heal from this. And I started to see a psychologist that my cousin suggested. My cousin's a psychologist. And at first, I was very hesitant to trust her because she kept on jumping to conclusions. And and she's a weird character. Now I love her, but she's a weird character. But I mean, I worked through my issues with her, and I actually realized I have a ton of issues, and most of it stems from my childhood, and I worked through that, and I tried to understand, what my buttons are, what makes me tick, and then I actually got to a point in our therapy where I realized, okay, I actually broke up with Candace, not because she's the problem, but because I'm the problem. But not in a sense that she doesn't have problems and she didn't contribute to it, but I had to own my issues, and I can only change what I brought to the relationship. And so, I mean, how long are we married now? We're married now 4 years, so I I had to win her back. Got engaged, got married. And I mean, I think therapy helped me in a lot of ways, even in my career. I moved overseas after I got married. I was a lot more confident to take on all the challenges there was in front of me. Moving overseas, it wasn't easy. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I would suggest anyone and everyone go to therapy. It's it's something that should be destigmatized because it's only helped me. And I definitely think it will help everyone else.
Do you still go now?
Funny you say that. So, I mean, when did I move overseas? 2019. And since then, every 6 months to 8 months, I've been moving into a new house or moving country or moving city, trying to find a stable job or country or something. So I'm finally in the UK now, and on the topic of what Luke was talking about with having difficulties with bosses and career. For me, um, because my visa is sponsored, and I don't know if this is something we should be speaking about. I don't know how far this reaches, but because my visa is sponsored, like part of me wants to speak up about certain things, and then there's a part of me that just accepts, and for fear of losing that sponsorship, like so certain things would happen in work where people get promoted because they would say, oh, if you don't promote me, I'm leaving. I can't do that, you know. And sometimes I feel like a second class citizen in the UK. Not that I'm treated that way. It's just I'm someone who's very ambitious. And when I feel like sometimes I'm trapped in a cage, like I can't move because I'm kind of tied to this company for the next 5 years. I enjoy working there, but it has its challenges. And yeah, so I mean, I've been struggling a bit the last few months with a bit of confidence issues, and just the fact that I can't maybe move jobs, and but I mean, there's development points in that. Like, why do I need to always move? Why do I have to push further? Why am I always pushing myself? And so, I mean, I started actually seeing my therapist again. And it's just another journey, like of self discovery and figuring out what part of me, why do I feel a need to always do better? Why do I feel a need to always earn more? So yeah. Say again.
Why do you never feel content, really?
Yes, because I mean, me, as you know, me and Candice, we trying to have a child, and so with having a child, there needs to be that contentment because the child is now your life, you know. And so yeah, that's my next journey. So yeah, to answer your question, I am
Yeah,
seeing.
I didn't mean to pry. Like I didn't mean to pry into that. I was just asking because, like Nathan said, I've also heard that therapy is about not just like you said when you're in a difficult space, but maintaining just being good. Like you said, being going to gym when you're already fit.
Yeah,
I just thought, like, because you said you've overcome all of those things, whether
yeah.
you've still just been having therapy just to maintain.
Yeah. So a
Yeah.
quick answer.
Hmm?
In South Africa, there's a thing called PMB, all medical aids prescribed minimum benefit. They must offer you 15 free sessions a year, since we're educating the people here. In the
Good.
UK, they don't offer that, so it's a lot harder. So at the moment, I pay the South African psychologist cash. So yeah.
On the topic of therapy, did you not go for counseling? The one that you have to go for before you get married? You could choose, is it?
Pre-marriage counseling I did, but to be honest with you guys, I think touching on Luke's point again of conflict avoidance and that inner conflict avoidance, mine isn't external, I think mine's more internal. I've been avoiding therapy because it's like it's almost like digging up stuff in your backyard and you don't know what you're going to find. So I'm in that stage of my life where, I mean, I'm going to be honest, and I thought the same thing Brad thought, is like, I'm perfect, I'm fine. I don't have any mental health issues, I'm not depressed.
Yeah.
So I've always had that stigma around mental health, or not mental health, but therapy. That's what I've had. So yeah, I think I've been avoiding it. To be
Okay,
honest.
that's mighty big of you to admit. And you, Luke, have you been?
I've never been to therapy, never felt the need to, but that just stems a question. I just want to go around and ask, is it not everyone's journey, does it not start with a traumatic experience or a mental health issue
That
into
gets you
therapy?
there
Yeah.
first, in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay, I can start. For me, yes. So, I mean, the first time I saw a therapist, I was actually really young. I was in primary school, and it was because I was getting into fights all the time. So the school actually suggested that I go see an anger management therapist. And it's because I got into a really bad fight, and yeah, the result for the other person was worse than it should have been.
I think I know who the person is.
So from a young age, I had to go to anger management therapy. For me at the time, and this I would say is whether or not therapy is for you depends on whether or not you are mature enough to understand why you're there. And I was not mature enough, so I didn't appreciate it, and I thought it was a waste of time. Then the next time I went, it was another inciting incident. I had just come out of a 6-year relationship, and my partner had moved on within like the space of 2 weeks to a month. And I was broken, and my parents felt like it would have been a good idea for me to go to therapy. Again, I think I was in a little bit, I was obviously more mature, but I understood more why I was getting there, why I was going there, and I got what I needed out of it. Like I got given some tools to be able to deal with my depression. The third time I went to therapy was after a really, really bad breakup, and I'm just gonna be honest, I was suicidal at certain points, and that was when therapy. I knew I needed it. It was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that was suggested to me. So that was for the first time in my life that I chose to go to therapy. Also helped. But the most recent time I went to therapy was the first time out of all of them where I wasn't in a bad place, and there wasn't an inciting incident. It was just me wanting to work on myself. And that is probably the time I got the most benefits out of the experience, because I was completely present and I wanted to be there. But I don't know about Brad, if there was an inciting incident that caused you to go. Well, it was the breakup. It was the breakup.
Yeah, the relationship issue.
Okay. Well, anyone else want to touch on that topic? Because I have a slightly less serious.
Yeah, that
question.
was really hectic.
Sorry, guys.
I just want to finish off on the therapy, and before we get to the lighter stuff, like for me personally, never felt the need to go. And I know Keenan mentioned he doesn't want to dig up stuff that may come up, but I think it's the fact that we maybe haven't experienced that low point where we felt we needed to go, with a slight twist. Up until recently for me, I used to use gym as a way of therapy. And then my partner has recently, she's been saying it for the last year, but I think it ties in with that inner conflict that I have with myself. I've sort of been putting it off, but I have been considering it for probably the last 2 weeks. So it's interesting to hear what Brad has to say, Nathan has to say. I just have one question. The word depression was used before we get on to the lighter stuff. I just want to know just your thoughts. Like, do you think you can self-diagnose yourself with depression? And up until what point is it actually a chemical imbalance, or if it's just circumstantial?
I'll take that. I genuinely don't think you can self-diagnose yourself. I think there's professionals that deal with these sort of things. But just touching on what Nathan said, I think it was after the second breakup where you were
Suicidal.
where you're suicidal then.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if you get to that point where you have those thoughts, that's not self-diagnosing.
Yeah.
That is like,
You know you have problems.
yeah, you know,
Red flags, yeah.
yeah, red flags. That's the right word. Like, if you should be able to see the red flags, I don't think you'll be able to diagnose yourself.
Yeah.
Clinical.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I've gone through a bout of depression for like a year or two in my life. I was a lot younger. And I agree with Giant, like you shouldn't self-diagnose, but there are signs where you know, okay, something's not right. I should speak to someone. And I think it's just a conversation that should be had a lot more, because most young men don't know that there are options out there. Some, you know, like there is an option for you to self-educate and you know, see a psychologist and grow. So yeah.
You mentioned young men. I was like thinking the other day, who asked you guys if you're okay? Like, just think, when was the last time someone asked you?
This is crazy because I actually had this trip the other day, so it's quite mad.
Brad, I mean, you're all the way over there. When's the last time someone asked you if you were okay?
Not the like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay?
I mean, I actually don't get it that often. It's a lot tougher over here. Like, I don't have my brother, don't have my family local, and so you don't necessarily have that support. But yeah, no one's really given me a call message to say like, how you doing? You wanna, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
Damn.
It's different.
I mean, even for you guys are here, we are here. Like,
We don't ask each other, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
what was your thoughts of it in the week?
I think it was up to that point, the last 2 weeks, where I thought I need to see someone. It's because, like, you sit back. This is now driving on your way from work, and you're thinking like, you admit to yourself, I'm not okay, and then the question stem like, who's actually asked me if I'm okay? But I mean, now that I think about it, like, bless, my mother asks me almost every day if I'm okay.
And through conversation, they may not be asking, are you okay? But
Yes, through the deep conversations you have with your close friends, but
Yeah.
just that powerful question on its own. And I think more people, I don't want to say deserves, but
they should.
it would be great if everyone could receive that question genuinely.
Yeah.
Not just for conversation purposes, but to
Yeah.
actually like.
Because I will add on what he just said, and that is, I don't feel like any of you asked me, are you okay? However, through conversing with all of you, I feel like I get what I get to the crux of that answer through conversation. But you haven't asked, am I okay? But we will talk, and that will come to the surface, whether or not I am or not. You know what I mean?
But I think we take for granted that not all friendship circles are like that. Like, a lot of friends are just good time friends. It's just about partying. It's just about like drinking beers, all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I can genuinely say we have real conversations about how things are going in your life.
Like the one we're having right now.
For sure.
But brings me on to my next topic. I want to know, how do you guys feel, guys as opposed to girls, deal with breakups, and what's different between when a girl is going through a breakup and a guy is going through a breakup?
I don't know how to answer that because I think I could behave like a girl.
Like,
I get chuck emotional.
okay, so now in my experience with women and obviously with guys, obviously having lots of guy friends as well. First of all, I don't even know what I said.
You had to add that bit in, man.
Lots of guy friends as well. Ooh.
Just in case.
Yo, you better say pause or. Okay, cool.
So, I'm gonna just start off by saying I think guys and girls, in my experience, have two completely different approaches to breakups. Guys, it's party. First month, first 2 months, party.
Hooking up with other
Hooking up,
girls.
the saying a lot, in order to get over someone, you need to get under someone. That's the one. And the guy's out in the club and he's drinking, he's partying, he's having a nice time, right? And that's for the first 2, maybe 3 months if it was a deep relationship. Then the female, on the other hand, is immediately the woman. The woman, on the other hand, is immediately going, and she's first of all, she's not going to be posting on social media that much. She's going into a little bit of a cocoon. She's going to probably change her hair. She's going to dye the hair, if not, or cut it. There's retail therapy, and she's chunking. She's chunking for that first month or 2 months. And then it's as if once that 2-3 months is done, she comes out of her cocoon and she's like this new butterfly and she steps out into the world. Whereas guys, after that 2-3 months, are the opposite. And now the drinking has caught up with them.
Yeah.
The partying has caught up with them. It's now they've realized that they haven't actually dealt with the breakup. They've just been suppressing everything.
Yeah.
And now they can't come to terms with the fact that the girl now seems okay and they are in utter turmoil. And it's because they don't know how to deal with. We don't know how to deal with our own emotions in general, and the girls are better at it than us. But that, and then that, in my opinion, is the main difference with how females approach a breakup. Guys, do you have anything to add? Do you have any opinions?
I mean, on the breakup part, that cocooning that females do, and I'm going to bring it back to psychology, is actually called mourning because you lost something.
That's not psychology, that's English, right? Like he made the word
Flexing here.
The guys are bad at mourning. That's what it is. And yeah, I don't know. That's my 2 cents. You guys continue.
I'm gonna speak from my experience. Like, you know, with this trash with my current wife or my wife. You know what I found was really upsetting, and it wasn't the fact that she changed the hair or any of those things. It was the fact that she didn't message me once. Not a phone call. She didn't check my profile. You know, you can see when people look at your stories on that.
But I'm gonna raise you on this one.
Like she goes. That to me is the thing that hits guys the most. And then I think also, like you said, after the cocooning, have you ever been in that situation where you see the girl after and she's still doing well and she's doing better than what she was?
Yeah.
With you? Can I ask you guys a question? We've all got exes, right?
Yeah.
How do you guys look at your exes now with their new partners? Like, what's the feeling? I'm gonna just leave it very broad.
Okay.
Like, what when you see them or if you've seen them with their partner on social media, whatever the case will be. Like, what's your feeling?
I'll start off, and sometimes I'll feel to myself like, nah, he's not the one. But for the most part,
He's not the one in terms of what looks.
no, he's just not the one for you. Or I don't see you guys ending up together, kind of thing. But for the most part, I honestly, and it took me a while to get here, but honestly, right now as I am, I feel like I'm finally mature enough to say that, like, it's okay that they're not with me anymore. I want them to be happy because, I mean, there was a stage in my life where I was so selfish where it's like, okay, I know we're not dating, but I don't want you to date anyone else because you were mine, kind of thing. So now I'm kind of happy for them, kind of.
Why is that kind of?
I'm kind of happy because actually I had this is interesting that you asked me that question because I had this thought, and that is you just said now we all had exes and we were all a specific person when we dated that person, right?
Yeah.
But now that person only knows that version of you, and they don't know the growth and the self-improvement that you've done since.
Maturity.
The maturing, or some people don't mature. So I was thinking like my exes, they're completely different people now, and I actually don't know who they are, and they don't even know who I am. So it's like I'm happy for them, but we don't really know each other anymore.
I think that's the important part for me. It's like because, and this is gonna sound like I'm kissing ass, but because I'm happy in my situation, like there's never been a thought of, sure, I miss XYZ of that person because my current person doesn't have XYZ. Like it's always like that when you feel that jealousy, because let's call it what it is. It's jealousy if you can't be not happy. You don't have to be happy for your exes with their new partners. But if you still don't, that feeling that you said of you don't want them to be with anyone else.
And it also comes, like you just said, when you fulfill.
Yeah, when you feel like you can let go. But I do look at them with their current boyfriends, and like I do compare myself to them. Like I can't know the guys at all, but just the way they look, I feel like they're not on my level.
I think that's normal because I do the same thing, and that's why they aren't the one.
What else? I wanted to ask one more question about exes. Is there anything that you could take from exes that you feel made you a better person? And I'm gonna start. Like I did most of my growth in my current relationship. Like if I look back at all of my ex relationships, I was the same person throughout. I was that insecure, cheating, all of those sort of things in that relationship. But I did my most maturing in my current one. But a lot of people say that they learn a lot from their exes. I think women learn more from their exes relationships than guys do.
It's variable, it's debatable. I think it just boils down to like what we were talking about earlier, like self-awareness and emotional intelligence. If you're not self-aware, you're not gonna grow. And women just mature a lot faster than men in general.
And you asked now, what do you learn from your exes? I was actually having a conversation the other day, and I was like, everybody has baggage from previous relationships, but there's only a certain amount of growth you can do while you're alone. So let's say I'm now in a relationship, and my ex, for example, was always talking to guys on her phone. So whenever we would be at the dinner table or whatever, she'd put her phone face down, or maybe she'd fall asleep with the phone next to her. So now let's say I'm single for 5 years and I'm in a good place. Now, only a certain amount of growth can come whether or not I date someone 5 months after or 5 years after. And here's why. Because I have not dated that new person. So until that new person starts putting their phone down, but they're doing it for a completely different reason. Just because it's a habit of theirs, not because they're actually cheating. So now, unless I'm being triggered, and I didn't even know that was a trigger for me until the new person does it, I can't deal with that and I can't grow. So as much as you learn, and that's why I think you said you did your most growing in your current relationship, is because now you're dealing with all your baggage that you have had over the years, that you have most definitely, as you just said, you were also cheating and stuff. You added to all that baggage, and now this is the relationship that is working the best for you because you've grown from it.
You've created your own buttons, Giant.
I think on that point, and that's a joke, but I do agree with Luke. I think we need to look into that sort of therapy to understand or identify those buttons, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think I have created my own buttons. There's things that I have projected onto partners because I would do it in the situation.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're nothing like me. So, yeah. Mr. Stevens, is there something that you feel like you've taken from a previous relationship that's benefiting you now?
Well, just on the point of if you ever look at your exes and feel that their new partners aren't right for them, I think it's like I've personally.
Listen, we were too insightful early on. We need some toxicity. Toxicity now.
Personally, I've never felt that. Whether it's, I think at that time I was very young, so the expectations of the relationship weren't that high.
I call bullshit. You've never looked at an ex's partner and been like, him. Not even that.
No, genuinely. That's the truth, guys.
Just protest too much.
And I mean, some of them I ended because I felt like I wasn't ready. Maybe to add to that point, I feel like if I were to think along those lines, I don't deserve to because I let that person go. But at the end of the day, I'm just genuinely happy because I'm happy with my partner.
Yeah.
I wish the same for them. So it's like, yes, I did a horrible thing by breaking up with you, but we're both happy, and that gives me
That
peace
wasn't
of
a
mind.
horrible thing, though.
Yeah, but again, it's that internal. You tell yourself, "Oh, I'm a bad person. I broke this girl's heart." But
You would have been a worse person if you stayed with her.
Yeah.
yeah, difficult to argue that. But
That would have been.
so I think what I've learned is, I think to be more intimate and have deeper conversations, actually get to know your partner, and especially in the beginning, might be a bit intense, but to sort of know where your potential partner is headed, what's their goals, their expectations, and if it matches, then it sort of flows organically. That's just how I found my relationship now, and compared to my exes.
You need to have a bit of vulnerability in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just to open up.
Nathan doesn't agree with you. I disagree. In the beginning, when we're chasing, or are we talking now after a few months in the beginning?
I
Because in
would
the
say-
beginning you can't be vulnerable.
Not when you're chasing.
Yeah. Let's just be clear.
When you're vibing.
I have one more question before this part ends tonight, because we've been going for almost an hour now. And that is, when you are chasing someone, when you are seeing a kid, do you think, or as a guy, and from the kid's perspective, from the woman's perspective,
Get it right, man.
do you owe them and do they owe you basically the explanation as to whether or not they are seeing anyone, and at what stage in the getting to know each other part does that have to be disclosed in order for things to be, good? Like, do you think it's like, oh, once we start being intimate and we start having sex, then you should know if someone's seeing someone else, because then hey, you could be crossing swords with another man, or like, at what stage do you have to start disclosing that you are dating?
I think it's like Luke said at the what do you call it, the exclusive stage.
Yeah.
And at
But
the
that's
sex
obvious.
stage.
That's obvious.
And at the sex stage.
Okay.
The sex stage is for real.
You reckon? I mean,
I'm glad you asked.
Many people have sex and they say fuck all and they move on to their lives and they have fun. I think personally, for it to be, like, we're not seeing anyone else, it's something that needs to be discussed. Because if we had sex and you didn't say we exclusive, that's on you. Don't blame me. That's how I feel. Like, we should have a conversation about it. Unless I've told you you're the only one for me,
change.
Yeah, you know, then I've led you on. But if I haven't led you on to believe that you're the only one, we should have the conversation.
But you could have just slept with a girl who was brought up that like she doesn't give a flower to anybody. And in her mind, if you're at the stage of having sex, that you are exclusive. I guess that's on her anyway. But I do find it interesting that you say that's a question, that's something that should be asked. Because back in the day, that's not, I mean, think about it. But you're gonna now, let's say you meet a girl in the club. Or let's say for you, it was at varsity. And now you've been talking for a week. At the end of the week, now you guys spend the night together. At the end of the night, you're gonna be like, yo, so because we
Oh, you talking about old Keenan?
Oh,
Yeah, no.
You've been in my talking to now, but
Listen, wait, hold on. Yes, I didn't give a fucking varsity.
We're talking about in general. Obviously, you now.
the rules haven't changed.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, the rules haven't changed. Like, if you are just single, would you be?
Yeah, I'll probably
Telling
take the
someone-
same about you, right? Yeah, sorry. No, I'm giving advice to other people.
It doesn't mean you must take it.
Yeah, I mean, are you qualified to give advice?
in the proper sense, the way things should be done properly. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that.
So can we just get the consensus here as to when then do? Okay, let's say you're the one with more feelings.
I'm trying to think. Did I ever, when we were in that vibing, let's call it the old word vibing stage, did I ever ask a girl?
If you're the only one she's seeing.
It's a
I
difficult,
must have. I'm a sensitive guy.
it's a
I'm
difficult
not,
conversation.
I think I would have asked. I would have asked.
And at what stage? After you slept together, after talking for 3 months?
It's like in the
There
talking.
was some. Yeah. There was some. It depends on. I think it's back.
You two step there. He was like, should I say it? Nah.
I don't know. I think honestly, I don't think you owe someone. You don't owe
Thought you
someone.
were gonna lie.
Nah, I don't think you owe someone anything after sex. I think that first of all, if they want to know, they should ask. But I don't actually know when I would ask if I was on the if I wanted to know now if they're seeing someone else. I don't know when I would think it's cool enough, because it's obviously not a cool move to be like, oh, am I the only one you see?
I don't know.
You seem needy.
I think that's a big question.
Yeah, but it's an awkward conversation to have. I think not many guys will take this advice, but the sooner you are, also it depends on why you're vibing with a chick. If it's for a good time or if you see potential in her. I would say if you see potential in her, then the sooner you are both vulnerable, the better. So the more natural that conversation takes place, and then the physical good stuff afterwards.
I'm not sure, but I'm sure they're gonna say that's toxic. So, like, I'm fucking.
No, okay, no, yeah.
I'm
But-
sure some.
No, but then there's going to be some guys that's going to like flip the situation and turn it into an art to like fake the vulnerability just to get to the pleasures, and then
The cookie. Just say the cookie.
but that's like doctorate in chasing. I don't know.
That's in the manual. Oh my god. I'm not trash, right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's the truth.
You say that, and I agree with you. But you know, there was a whole movement, and this is now going to get very, very controversial.
Yeah, I come off the bus here.
But there was a movement, wasn't there a men are trash movement at a stage?
Yes.
And I really took umbrage with that.
You
I
should
did. I,
have like a words coming up on the video for that. Huh? What is umbrage? I'm asking for the viewers.
so for the viewers, umbrage means you have an issue with something, and it's from the same dictionary that mourning comes from, if you were listening earlier. But I have an issue with that statement because, first of all, I feel like it's a blanket statement, which I never enjoy.
You don't like blankets.
Not all men are trash, but also I feel like it excuses women because you just said men are trash. And the thing is, and this is also another thing that I've seen and I've experienced, men cheat, but so do women. And I would venture to say that because men in general are slightly dumber than women with regards to being able to hide these things, women get away with it more often. And that is why men have this thing of men are trash because they're too dumb. They want to keep the messages on their phone so that they can somehow reminisce. Where women clear that shit same day. So I'm just saying, I don't like the saying men are trash because it's a bit too blanket for me. And
But the men, from what I understand about the men is trash statement or saying, is that it goes beyond cheating. It's it's a lot of whole lot of other stuff.
oh, okay, then I'm ignorant to what the other stuff are.
Yeah, that's probably a whole lot of things. Let us know in the comments what you believe. Trash means.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've been potting for about an hour now. That brings us to the end of episode 4.
We appreciate you, Brad. Thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks for
All
your
good,
time.
guys. Thanks for having me.
We want to just say thank you to Bradley from the UK, joining us all the way from the other side of the pond. It's been lovely having you. And will you be joining us again in the future? Have you had a good time?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want me in the next podcast or the next one after that, I'm here. It was lots of fun.
Let's say how you received, and we'll have our people contact you.
Let's see how many views you get.
See you.
Stop throwing in this game. I'll out you. Okay. Let's get it.
Well, from myself, Nathan,
Keenan.
And Lucas.
and
And me, Brad.
thanks for listening. We'll see you guys again next week.